Hello, my name is Lacon and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be focusing in on my bookshelves. I'm going to be doing a bookshelf tour to kind of show you what I've got going on. We're going to be going through every single book that I own, so this may be a little bit of a longer video. I say that whenever all my videos are pretty long, so scratch that. It's just going to be a normal length video. For me, at least. Behind me are the actual shelves themselves. Some of them have a rhyme or reason and others not really. These two shelves right here kind of blend into each other. They're just my books that I've read shelves. And then this shelf and this shelf is where my TBR is, or my physical TBR at least. This shelf, none of the books on here I've read, and then on this shelf, I've only read this side and not this side. I don't buy a lot of books before I read them. The only time I do that is if I don't have access to the book other than buying it, or because people know that I read, they gift me books and things like that. So I don't have a huge physical TBR, which is what I like. I like for my shelves to be basically a trophy case of books that I've enjoyed and want to show off for if people come into my home, look at my bookshelves, they can kind of get a sense of who I am, what I enjoy, and things like that, instead of having a bunch of books that I haven't read on my shelves and it just being a big jumbled mess. And then you can't see too much further down, but this shelf right here is middle grade books, either from books that I had when I was in middle school or books that I've read more recently that are middle grade books. So I have separated those here. This shelf is basically my entire Animorphs collection, so that's here. And then there's 4 more shelves below that you can't see, but obviously I will show them to you. The shelf right under this middle grade shelf is another middle grade shelf that has mainly American Girl doll books. Either books that I've had from when I was younger or that I've collected more recently, because American Girl is a really big part of my life and my childhood, so I kind of want to have a lot of those books, as well as some Monster High books that I've read more recently, but again, they're middle grade books, and Monster High was a big part of my childhood, even if I didn't read any of these books during my childhood. So we're just kind of keeping the nostalgia alive, the nice warm memories whenever I look at these kinds of things. And then yeah, my shelves are not very organized, or at least to where they make the most sense, because most of the time I'll fill a shelf and then it's like, okay, that stays there. And then I'm adding books to other shelves, because even down here at the bottom, under the Animorph shelf, is another shelf of books that would probably fit within this category and fit around here. Because this shelf has had lots of iterations. I've had my partner's books on this shelf, and then when we grew too many books, we got separate shelves. And then the same with our physical media collection, like VHSs and DVDs. Also shared this shelf at some point, but then when books overtook it, things just get moved around and I just get comfortable with where things are. And then I also have a second shelf that is mostly K-pop albums and physical media, but I do have one shelf on there that's books. So I will show you that shelf as well. But yeah, I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the specifics of what is on my bookshelf as of May 2025. So we're going to start with the top shelf and then work our way over and then down. So if we move the decorations, or at least the big ones, the first book we have is Max Brooks's Devolution, Lost World by Michael Crichton, Next by Michael Crichton, Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, Prey by Michael Crichton, The Life of Pi by Jan Martel, Armada by Ernest Cline, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, Light Lark by Alex Astor, Unwind by Neil Unwind by Neil Shusterman, Unholy by Neil Shusterman, Unsold by Neil Shusterman, The Complete Works of William Shakespeare, The Complete Works of Edgar Allan Poe, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Pride by E.B. Zaboy, To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christio, Pet by Akweke Emeze, Wilder Girls by Rory Power, A Lot's Away by Darcy Little Badger, On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I haven't taken a lot of the McKay stickers off. I thought I had. One by One by Ruth Ware, Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, Bird Box by Josh Mallerman, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, Into the Wild by John Krakauer. That is not how you say that last name. Krakauer. Krakauer? How would you say this last name?
Krakauer.
Krakauer.
The correct pronunciation of Krakauer's name is John
Krakauer.
Kra is pronounced as in the word cray. Oh, well, I'm glad they specified that. Krakauer.
Krakauer. He goes into...
Oh, wait, yeah, that's the one where he lives in a bus and stuff. I've watched the movie.
The book. You should read the book and not just the movie.
I've watched the movie.
Into the Wild by John Krakauer. Here is the TBR shelf. First we have Wicked by Gregory Maguire. And I will be honest, this one is on the TBR shelf because I've never read it, but I don't actually ever plan on reading it because it's so much different than the Broadway play. And I just have this book because I love the Broadway play. When You Wish Upon a Star by Elizabeth Lim. A Monster Like Me by Wendy S. Swore. Dracula by Bram Stoker. Pew by Catherine Lacey. Damon by Daniel Schwartz. The Time Machine and War of the Worlds with Connections by H.G. Wells. Chronicles of the Moon, The Legends by Alan Freeman Jones. White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Dolly.
Well, hey, everybody!
My Life and Other Unfinished Business by Dolly Parton. The Genius of Dogs, How Dogs Are Smarter Than You Think by Brian Hare and Vanessa Woods. The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Takuto Hall. The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Never After, The 13th Fairy by Melissa de la Cruz. Million Mile Road Trip by Rudy Rucker. Song for a Whale by Lynn Kelly. Foxcraft, The Taken by Inbali Isirialis. Distant Waves by Suzanne Wynn. On Fire by Nancy Holder. Twinchantment by Elise Allen. Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. As Old as Time by Liz Braswell. Now we're on to the third shelf, which we can start off with Solace by Gail Carriger. And yes, in case you're wondering, this is real. I got it when I was in one of my university classes dissecting a shark. This was inside the shark I was dissecting. And it might look like it's just in a jar with water. It's not. It's actual proper chemicals, and it's sealed tight. You can't open this. So it's contained. It's properly contained. Don't just put dead things into random jars. The Souls of Animals by Gary Kowalski, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, Water for Elephants by Sarah Garoon, Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger, Imprudence by Gail Carriger, Prudence by Gail Carriger, Changeless by Gail Carriger, Heartless by Gail Carriger, The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, White Rage by Carol Anderson, This Is My America by Kim Johnson, and Marley and Me by John Grogan. Blameless by Gail Carriger, Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn, Renegades by Marissa Meyer, Arch Enemies by Marissa Meyer, Chopsticks by Jessica Anthony and Rodrigo Coral, The Bee Book, and Honeybee Democracy. Onto the fourth shelf, we'll start off with Lovely War by Julie Berry and This Poison Heart by Kaylin Barron. I also have the second book in this series, but it is currently in my bag as my take around book and read. Go the Distance by Jen Kalinota, The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, The Changeling by Victor Lavelle, The Queen's Secret by Melissa De La Cruz, Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Lavenseller, The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan, Once by Cameron Doki, The Grimrose Girls by Laura Pohl, Lies My Teacher Told Me by James W. Lowren, Sign Here by Claudia Lux, G is for Gumshoe, H is for Homicide, I is for Innocent by Sue Grafton, The Best Loved Poems of the American People. These right here are just some zines, some that either I've made or other people have made. On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection by Charles Darwin, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake, The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson, Kingdom Keepers, Disney After Dark by Ridley Pearson, Ragtag by Carl Wolf Morganlander, Jade Fire Gold by June Caltan, Upgrade by Blake Crouch, Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling, The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, and Recursion by Blake Crouch. Now we're on to the fifth shelf, with the first book being The Hidden World of Fairies, The Velveteen Principles by Tony Ritten de Antonio, Aesop's Fables, Siren by Angie Sage, Quest by Angie Sage, Physic by Angie Sage, Flight by Angie Sage, Magic by Angie Sage, Ruby the Red Fairy by Daisy Meadows, Amber the Orange Fairy by Daisy Meadows, Sunny the Yellow Fairy by Daisy Meadows, Fern the Green Fairy by Daisy Meadows, Sky the Blue Fairy by Daisy Meadows, Heather the Violet Fairy by Daisy Meadows, Tinkerbell, Two Magical Tales, Sabertooths and the Ice Age by Mary Pope Osborne and Natalie Pope Boyce, Tigers at Twilight by Mary Pope Osborne, Vacation Under the Volcano by Mary Pope Osborne, Dinosaurs Before Dark by Mary Pope Osborne, Sunset of the Sabertooth by Mary Pope Osborne, Thanksgiving on Thursday by Mary Pope Osborne, Heidi by Joanna Spiri, Hangin' with the Backstreet Boys by Michelle Ann Johns, Caddy Woodlawn by Carol Ryrie Brink, Karen's Big Fight by Ann M. Martin, Christy and the Middle School Vandal by Ann M. Martin, A Shiloh Christmas by Phyllis Reynolds Nyler. Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kimwe Mbala. Tristan Strong Keeps Punching by Kimwe Mbala. Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Here's shelf number 6, starting with In the Time of Dinosaurs by K.A. Applegate. The Doctors, Lives and Times by James Gauche and Stephen Tribe. Visser by K.A. Applegate. The Hork Barge. I've never actually had to say this name out loud. I don't know. The Hork-Bajir Chronicles by K.A. Applegate. The rest of these are all Animorph books by K.A. Applegate. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. These are all from the main series. This one is the Andalite Chronicles. And then these are the Megamorph books, which also includes the In Time of Dinosaurs book as well. This is not all the main series books. I think I have almost all of them up to like number 40, and then I have a few odd ones after that point, but there's like 70 or so books. So I would like to get the entire collection, but we are not there yet. And I have read, it's been a while, but I have read all of these books when I was in middle school. Now we're on to the 7th shelf, where I can sit down on the floor and Mowgli can be in the way now. You gotta back up, baby. Oh. Mowgli, go that way. You can't, unless you lay down. Where There's a Wolf, There's a Way by Lacey Harrison. The Ghoul Next Door by Lacey Harrison. Monster High by Lacey Harrison. Ghoul Friends Forever by Giddy Dane Cherie. Ghoul Friends Till the End by Giddy Dane Cherie. Ghoul Friends, Who's That Ghoul Friend by Giddy Dane Cherie. Then we have the Complete Addie story collection. Then we have Good Job Kanani and Aloha Kanani by Lisa Lee. Then we have Meet Kaya and Kaya's Hero. Then we have Changes for Julie, Julie and the Eagles, and Meet Julie. Then we have the Complete Felicity collection. And we have the Complete Kirsten collection. Then we have Changes for Rebecca, Rebecca to the Rescue, Candlelight for Rebecca, and Meet Rebecca. Then we have Meet Josefina McKenna by Mary Casanova. Then we have Courtney Changes the Game. No, you can't jump up there. Oh. I guess I have 2. Leah Dives In. So one of these can be unhauled. Probably keep the one that doesn't have Reagan G's name on the cover. Then we have Joss by Erin Falligant. Luciana by Erin Teagan. Then we have Felicities. A Stand for Independence. Then we have A Kit Mystery, Intruders at Rivermead Manor. Then we have A Growing Suspicion, a Rebecca mystery. American Girl does not like to put its authors on the cover. No, they're not. Like the Girl of the Years have the names on the cover, but all the historical ones don't. But if you look inside, this one says is A Kit Mystery, Danger at the Zoo. And if I open it up, it's by Kathleen Ernest. Danger at the Zoo, A Kit Mystery. Now we're on to the 8th shelf, with the first book being The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. Then we have Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman, You by Carolyn Keeps, The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, How to Be Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi. The Odyssey translated by Robert Fagles. Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. Benti by Nnedi Okorafor. Orange Volume 1 by Ichiko Takano. A Man and His Cat by Umi Sakuri. Komi Can't Communicate by Tomohito Oda. And Komi Can't Communicate Volume 2 by Tomohito Oda. Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan. China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. The Crown by Kiera Kass. The Heir by Kiera Kass. The Elite by Kiera Kass. The One by Kiera Kass. The Selection by Kiera Kass. Hello, Goodbye, and Everything in Between by Jennifer E. Smith. Of Neptune by Anna Banks. Of Triton by Anna Banks. And Of Poseidon by Anna Banks. And then down on the bottom two shelves, this one we have a lot of coffee table books, and like this is a couple's journal. This is a textbook I had from college. A Guide to Butterflies and Moths. 2 books for helping me work on crafts that I'm currently working on, like learning Korean and writing a book. And then some Disney coffee table books and animal coffee table books. And then this one is Madeline by Ludwig Bellelamas. And the only reason it's here instead of on the next shelf over is because it's too tall. It doesn't fit. It has to be laying down, which most of these books have to be laying down because they're too tall. And then on this bottom shelf, we have a lot of picture books. I'm not going to pull all these out and look at them. Majority of them are from either my childhood or my partner's childhood. And then we also have a lot of little golden books as well that we've just collected over the years. This one's not old. This is one that I've bought a couple years ago. A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, The Poetry of Mr. Rogers. But it's down here because that's a nice book for if kids ever, when kids ever come over. This is the shelf that they can pick from. And then on my second bookshelf, the top shelf is all K-pop albums. I'm not gonna pull all those out because most of them are duplicates of the same album, just different versions. But we have some BTS, some Crixie, some Vanner, some Nyon, and just Twice, as well as Sheed, Busaksoon, and Wakey Makey on this shelf. And then the second shelf is also K-pop, where we've got some Mamamoo, some Stray Kids. This is an actual book, Beyond the Story. It's the BTS memoir. And then we have some more Twice and Sheed, as well as the mini albums from Vanner, Sheed, and Twice. And then onto the third shelf, which is the only shelf that has actual books on it, and it is my Buffy the Vampire Slayer bookshelf. I did recently just put in an order at Thrift Books to get a few more Buffy books for an upcoming reading vlog. So this shelf will have a little bit more, but for right now it has Slayer by Kirsten White, The Watcher's Guide Volume 1 and Volume 2 of The Watcher's Guide. Then we have the Season 2 Volume 2 script book, which has all the original episode scripts from Season 2, and Season 2 Volume 1, the script book that has the first 6 episodes of Season 2 in it. Then we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which is a collection of some of the books. Then we have Slayer Slang by Michael Adams. And then we have The Harvest which is based on one of the episodes of Buffy. And then right here, these aren't books, but we have some of the starter decks from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer TCG game. We have the Paragon Prophecy Hero starter deck, Class of 99 hero deck, and then we have the 2 decks from the Wish theme deck episode. So we have the villain one with Vamp Willow and Vamp Xander. And then we have the Cordelia and Giles one as well. And I have the villain deck from the Paragon Prophecy and the villain deck from Class of 99, but they're just within these 2 boxes to keep them together. No, I don't know how to play the game. Yes, I do have the starter decks. So if anyone does know how to play the game, you can come over and we can play it and you can teach me. I got some decks. And then this next shelf is just a bunch of movies, not really sorted in any way, just our physical collection. On this side is our Blu-ray movies, and the rest are our regular DVDs. And the same with the very bottom shelf is just some more movies. Those have to be continually pushed to the very back because the cats like to sit in that shelf. So that's my bookshelf tour. Those are all the books I own, except for one. I forgot about this book. This is my book that is by my bed that I pick up and read before I go to sleep. And it is I Want to Die, But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Bak Sehi. So, yeah. I only have 2 books that are on these shelves. The sequel to The Poison Heart and this one. So now that's officially all my books. I'm really happy with how my bookshelf has been curated, and I do take a lot of pride in the books that I collect and consciously buy, especially because I do buy a lot from McKay's, as you could see with all the McKay stickers that I've yet to fully take off of my books. Or Goodwill or just other thrift stores. So I try to be a very conscious and thoughtful with my book purchases, so that way I don't go overboard and I get overwhelmed, especially by a physical TBR when majority of the way I do consume books is through audiobooks, just for the sake of it's easier for me to process and consume and understand what's going on. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it if you've stuck around all the way to the end. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or especially if you've read any of the books on my TBR shelf, because maybe I should get after one of those very soon. Except for Wicked. I'm not going to be reading that one. And also, I forgot to mention it, but On the Origin of Species by Charles Darwin, I've also not fully read. I've started it. I got to here. When I was at university, I was a zoology major. And so I was like, we talk about this stuff all the time. I should actually read Charles Darwin's essay. I got that far, and I think I've decided that this is another book that is just gonna sit on my shelf without ever having the intention of fully reading it. But everything else on this shelf, I do want to read. So if you've read any of these, definitely let me know. Or if it's like, ooh, don't pick that up. That's a waste of your time. Let me know that as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I hope the very next book that you read is a 5-star read. And I will see you next time when we have another video continuing some more bookish discussions. So yeah, take care. Have a great day. Bye.